Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Christina Kent and I'm an oil painter based out of San Francisco. And in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about one of my bad art habits, specifically clinging to an idea. So what do I mean by this? So I've noticed that oftentimes when I'm painting, and this happened really recently on a painting, I was working on the painting but just really struggling and kind of not getting the painting to where I wanted it to be. The brush strokes didn't seem to be landing right. The colors weren't working as I'd planned, and it just kind of wasn't going in the direction that I'd been hoping that it would go. And I started feeling more and more frustrated with the painting. I started trying to work harder and harder to force the painting into what I wanted it to be. And it was just a completely unenjoyable process. I didn't get into any creative flow. I didn't feel any of the joy that I usually feel when I'm painting. It just felt hard. And I took a step back and I was thinking, why is this feeling so hard? Like, usually painting is a joyful process for me. So why was I struggling so much with this painting? And when I took a step back, I realized that I had been really forcing the painting to be what I wanted it to be, so kind of clinging to my original idea for the painting rather than following the painting and allowing the painting to be what it wanted to be. And that might sound like a little out there, thinking that the painting has a motivation of what it wants to be, but I think it's kind of a way to express how there's some natural progression that happens in the painting process where I really feel like there is my intention, but then through the painting process, there's this kind of response at each step of the way, and the final product is often different from what my initial intention was. So when I say the painting, following what the painting wants to be, what I'm referring to is being really aware and mindful of this back and forth process while you're painting, where you initially have the idea or you have the motivation, and then you paint, and based on how the painting starts to unfold, you can respond and adjust your idea. And I think that this is not exactly easy to do because it involves letting go of control. It involves saying that when I'm starting off the painting with my idea, I don't know exactly how things are going to turn out. I don't know how the painting is going to unfold in the end. And if you really like to control things, if you're really analytical, if you like to have everything planned out, it can be really hard to allow that sort of openness into your painting process. I know for myself, I often feel a lot of resistance in this way because I have this idea in my mind and I think I know everything. I think I know how the painting is supposed to turn out. And during the process, if the painting starts to move in a different direction, then I can feel really resistant and kind of stubbornly trying to move it back to what I had planned. But I found even though it can be difficult to let go, when I do let go and I follow this sort of natural process through the painting process and I allow things to just unfold, then I often produce some of my strongest and most compelling work. And I think it wasn't always like this. And I think maybe one of the reasons why I've developed this habit of trying to force the painting to be what I wanted it to be is through my own training. So when I was learning to paint, and I think a lot of other people may have experienced this too. I'd be interested in hearing if you've had a similar experience. But when I was first learning to paint, I focused on building my skills. So I come from a realism background, and so I would focus on trying to depict whatever my subject matter was in the most realistic way possible. So I kind of had a clear objective measure of what the painting was supposed to be like. And in these practice stages, I think it was really helpful to have that strong intention, to have that clear intention. When I was learning, when I was practicing, I could make my goal of depicting the subject in a realistic way, and then once the painting was finished, I could easily check if I had accomplished my goal. So in that sense, it actually worked really well, I think, to have this strong intention and to really hold on to that intention throughout the painting process. However, now I feel like I've gotten to this different stage in my painting career where I'm not just building skill, I'm not just trying to improve my technique, but I'm really trying to make art, I'm trying to make work that, art seems like a big word, but I'm trying to make work that is compelling, that resonates with people, that has some sort of meaning beyond just a technically skilled piece. And the more I've painted, the more I've come to feel that to really create art, to really create work that resonates with people, that has meaning, that connects with others, I think it's important that we do allow for this openness and we allow for the painting to unfold. It's kind of like we bring our original intention for the painting to the start of the painting, but then we allow for creativity and inspiration and this sort of magical process to intervene while we're painting to create something even greater than what we could have imagined. And I feel like when we're open in that way, we can get lost in the creative process. We can experience creative flow and have so much joy when we're painting. But like I said, if you come from a background like mine in realism or any background where you've been really just building a lot of skills, it can be really hard to let go and to just follow the painting where it wants to go. I think it requires this sort of openness, and it also requires a lot of, I guess, just trust in your own abilities, that you don't need to be steering the ship, I guess, the whole way. Because the cool thing about creative flow is when I'm really experiencing flow, I'm actually not thinking about every individual brushstroke. And so I'm kind of letting my subconscious or letting some other part of my mind do the painting that I don't fully understand. And it's kind of scary to think that I'm just letting something else take the reins. But I've done so many paintings at this point that I've built up a trust in myself, and I know that I have the skills to do it. And I think this is a natural transition that happens when you're mastering any skill. It's like when you're learning to drive a car and it first seems so complicated and you have to control every little thing that your body is doing. And you really can't enjoy the driving because you're so focused on getting everything right. Versus once you've been driving for a really long time, it becomes to the point where it's second nature. And then it's so much easier to go places that you want to go because you don't have to be thinking about every individual step. But even though I'm aware of this bad art habit, it's still something that I'm working on getting over. And some of the things that I'm focusing on right now are just noticing it when it's there. So trying to be mindful of how I'm feeling during the painting process and noticing, am I really struggling here? Or am I maybe even avoiding working on a painting because I'm worried that I don't have what it takes to finish it? And when I notice this resistance coming up, I take a step back and I remind myself that I have all the skills that I need to make the painting happen, and that the painting doesn't need to turn out exactly as I had it in my original idea. I remind myself that the original inspiration, it's just a starting point, a jumping off point, something to get the painting going, but it doesn't have to be the destination. And usually when that happens, that helps take the pressure off, and then I can move forward with the painting more joyfully. So what are the main takeaways? Well, first, I think having a strong intention and clinging to that for when you're first developing skills is a good way to learn and can be really useful. However, as your skills develop, it can actually be really helpful to just use your intention as a jumping off point and learn to let go. Second, be mindful of how you're feeling during the painting process. If you're feeling resistant and stressed, is it because you're clinging to the initial idea? And if so, is there a way you can let it go? Maybe remind yourself that the original idea is just a jumping off point, and that it's okay if the painting doesn't turn out that way in the end. If you're anything like me, you'll probably try these techniques and they'll work really well sometimes and they won't work so well other times, but I think that's all part of the learning process. When we've developed bad habits, it can be really hard to let them go, and I think we have to appreciate all the small victories along the way. Eventually, with practice, we can overcome these bad habits and we can make our creative practice more joyful. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. Have you experienced this in your own painting process? Let me know in the comments. As always, a huge shout out to my supporters on Patreon. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for supporting this channel. And if you like my art, if you like my videos, and you want to help me make more, check out my Patreon at the link below. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time.